Introducing Nose to Tail, a podcast where we explore the world of aviation lifecycle solutions, insights, and more. Presented by Jet Midwest.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Nose to Tail podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Krause, COO at Jet Midwest. I'm here with Jim and Andrea. How you guys doing?
Great. How are you?
Great, Patrick.
Doing really well. So, Jim, you and I have known each other a little bit. Maybe you can give everybody out there maybe an account of what you're doing today, and then we can maybe talk about how you and Andrea got into the business.
Okay, great. So we're excited here at Aero Instruments. We've been around since 1968 at 57 years in the industry. We recently experienced an ownership change. It gives us a lot more financial backing and opportunities for growth. But we get to still be the same Aero Instruments that everyone's used to. And we've been, as we mentioned with Jet Midwest, we've worked together for a bunch of years. We're both repair work as the customer, and then as a vendor that with a preferred vendor of ours that we use often to try and fill our customer needs. We're still focusing on avionics as our main footprint in the industry. And we've made significant investments in a lot of testing equipment, including a third Collins station. We're one of the first ATEX 7s in North America. We also maintain a dialogue with our customers of what's important to them as far as new capabilities and trying to meet the increasing demand and ever-changing demand too for units in the aviation.
So just to dive a little bit into the depth that you've had there at Aero Instruments, what year did you start?
Sure. This is one that Andrea and I take a lot of pride in. On the end of May will be my 30th year. I started in 1985 on May 29th. So and have been in various positions from technician to sales, to business development, to R&D, to engineering currently, and enjoyed every bit of it. And it's all a great learning process. It's nice to see all the different aspects of the industry. As I mentioned now, previously it allows me to kind of focus on a lot of the test equipment and everything, and licensing agreements that allows us to obtain a lot of those.
It's great in aviation to be able to have some incredible longevity with one company. That's not always the case. We certainly see people being opportunistic in their careers, and sometimes advancement takes moving from one company to another because of various reasons. So it's great that you had such a long career and doing a lot of variety of different things. So Andrea, maybe give our listeners a flavor for how your career has progressed and maybe what you're doing today.
So I started with Aero Instruments in 1986. I've been here for this is my 39th year. And I actually started in data entry. I came in working directly for the owners of the company. It was when the business was really starting to take off. So the original owners were day-to-day hands-on, and they started developing their sales team and customer service teams. And so when I came in, I was entering work orders, handling the units that were actually coming in. And I tell everybody today it was great because it gave me a really great idea of what units were what part number, what they go in. And you learn a lot about the business that way. And the one thing that the owner had said to me was, the more you learn, the more valuable you'll be to me. And I still tell everybody that today. Take every bit that you can learn, take it and run with it. Learn from the people that have been here because you're only going to do great things. And here I am today. I've been in customer service, sales, data entry, you name it, accounting. They stuck me there one time to help out because they needed help. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And like Jim and I were talking about, what we're really proud of as a company is our original owners taught us to be hardworking, dedicated, blue collar, look out for your customer because they mean everything to you. And that's how we are today. We would go to the airport, pick up units, bring them back. Technicians would fix them and take them back to the airport themselves. I mean, we did everything. Nobody was, in one position only. You did what you had to keep the customers going. And that's what we did. And that's what we kept going through all these years. We've taken that to all the employees who have come in.
That's outstanding. I love to hear the stories of just the evolution of how companies grow from small to big and sort of the journeys. That's great. Again, they both have such great longevity. Do you remember when Jim started? Was he a young brainiac in there, or was he a humble young man? Tell us maybe a little about what that first year with Jim was like.
So Jim was 20-ish, right, when you first came in, Jim? So at the time, I'll just say he was, very motivated, fun to be around, and just great as a technician. He's learning too. So he's learning from the guys that had been there and, getting pushed around a little bit and gotta be part of the team, and they make you earn your keep, right? And so now Jim takes that, and I've seen him along the old way over the years. He's done the same thing, pick on the younger kids and all along at the same time teaching them every little, thing that he learned along the way to make his job easier that he had to learn and maybe figure out for himself. So every time I would go in, we had individual rooms at the time. We didn't have a big operating floor because the original owner, he was a really intelligent man. And for avionics, he wanted everybody to have that little bit more peace and quiet so that you could figure out when something was wrong and so Jim, I'd walk into his room and he would be teasing, I'd hear him teasing the other guys and jabbing back and forth. And he is exactly the same guy today as he was then. No, we get along.
Weaves a very good story, Jim. That could have come out a lot of different ways.
Yeah, that's why I said, and you had to be in this because I wouldn't call him a punk, but I could have at the time.
I thought I was picturing.
Well, that's, you know what? I think we all reflect back at our lives, when you're 25 years old, you think you know everything. And when you're 35, you realize you were pretty dumb, and every 10 years I look back and go, yeah, that guy, he was pretty confident, but I don't know that he knew very much. So wisdom comes with time, right?
Yes.
So Jim, what was the type of test equipment that you originally started training on at Aero Instruments?
Sure. So when I was a technician in the mid-90s, it was mainly DC-9s. Most of our customer base were different DC-9 operators, and we used to see just great volumes of the autopilot controllers. So a lot of it was the testing and repair or overhaul of the different autopilot controllers for the different DC-9 operators. Then there would be some roll computers and other units from there. Then it kind of graduated to automated test equipment. We really didn't have much automated test equipment when I started. Then we got the first count station. Then we had a bunch of rod automated test stands too, as well. We would do flight computers and display units. To pride and joy is probably the ATEX 7. We were one of the first in North America to get one of those, which is very advanced, and they've come a long way from DOS-based communications to very high tech and number of different Eric signals being transmitted and monitored at any time.
So Andrea, with that new ATEX 7 unit and having such a great penetration into the market with that model, what types of units did you expand when you brought in that new test equipment?
So that we do the ISFDs, right, Jim? Yep, in the control display units. And it's come a long way for our technicians. They can test things in 4 to 5 hours that used to take days and days for them to do. And I remember also when we were getting away from that DC-9, DC-10 work, I remember everybody was panicking. Nobody knew what, the column stations and the test tech, we didn't know what any of that was going to mean in ATEX 7s. We were all thinking, oh my God, our careers are going to end. But it has come so far for everybody. It's just now they can just narrow down those failures and fix the units in half the time.
That's pretty amazing. Well, it's gotta be great for a salesperson, right? You're providing a faster service, and now, so if it takes 4 hours to do a unit instead of 24 hours, that's giving you a 6-to-1 units in the shop that you can actually start getting through there. So that's got to feel good in terms of being able to build capacity. Maybe talk to me, Jim, a little bit about how did you guys strategically grow the shop? What did you guys focus on in this last wave? You said that you guys have a new ownership. You have a new partnership group that's been able to give you some funding. What strategies is Aero Instruments using to capitalize on the money that's being brought in, and maybe what other partnerships come out of that new ownership group?
Sure, no, that's a great question. We basically were researching how to build, because right now we have our footprint, we're great presence among cargo operators. So we're one of the largest repair centers for cargo operators in the U.S. We have a great market presence on that, but we see and identify as an opportunity for growth. There's a lot of passenger airlines that we're only the tip of the iceberg with as far as volumes. But we have to have the capability that you become a creature of what you're used to doing. Most of our growth and capability additions have been tailored towards the different cargo opportunities, being that's been such a strong suit for us, where now we can identify, we have a great sales team to work with, including Miss Andrea over there, who everyone in the industry knows. And also too, just for a lot of the passenger airlines that we haven't grown or taken advantage of enough, what capabilities are there, more opportunities for them? And it allows us to kind of pursue and add that to our already existing customer base.
Well, that's outstanding. Now, is there with this current customer base, Andrea, if you're dealing with cargo operators, the UPSs, FedExes, Atlas Air, DHL, um, as a salesperson, is there a particular aircraft type you guys are searching for, or is it really, yeah, I can handle, again, I'm unfamiliar maybe with the totality of what your test equipment can handle. Are you handling all their aircraft fleet types across the board?
Well,
Or is there something specific that you're really growing into?
okay, so we're really heavy in 747, 757, 767 right now. For cargo, that's the bulk of our platform and our business. We're trying to do 737 a little bit more. We have limited capabilities, but this is where Jim is going to help our team. He's helping the sales team by saying, "Look, at these are the numbers we can run. Go pitch them, go get them." And what is easy to sell the company is because of we've been around so long and our loyalty to our customers. If we say to them, "Hey, we can put these on capes. What can you do for us?" Which helps Jim be able to say on a business plan, if we can get this amount of removals or this amount of work, we can add these part numbers and have, return on investment. So it's the communication between our airline customers and our engineering team and our senior management team. And we've done a lot. We've come a long way in our capabilities and we grow all the time. And we tell the airlines, if there's something you're having a hard time with the OEMs or supply chains, please come to us because if we can add it, we want to be your go-to team.
So, Jim, do you guys have your own proprietary repairs and or DER repairs you develop for those special circumstances?
Sure, we work with a lot of our customers to, if there's any requests or problems where the supply chain problems over the last couple of years post-COVID has really changed a lot of attitudes and opened people's eyes to where they may have been quick to be closed off the PMA or DER solutions. So maintaining that open dialogue with our customers to problem parts could be keyboards or LCD refurbishment. We have a lot in-house. We have a vast and then vendor pool that we utilize, and we know with the same type of supports that we've had to which units to target and which type of vendors that can help provide solutions. And each day there'll be a new problem that pops up to where we used to be able to get this, and now there's a 6 months lead time, or the cost has gone up 400%, and it makes the unit tough to approve. And we target those specific opportunities. And also, one of our sister companies, since the purchase a couple months ago, we have a PMA company that we work with, and it can help us also find solutions.
That's outstanding. Do you mind letting everybody know who your
Yeah,
partner is?
sure. It's Air Group of America out of Pittsburgh area.
Very nice. So,
Yeah.
have you guys have the opportunity to come in and say, "Hey, we're having this recurring problem with this widget inside of a bigger widget, and can you guys see about getting this PMA'd?"
Yeah, absolutely. And we just get the information from the end user, and we work with them on the composition and dimensions and everything to the feasibility of the project. And in a lot of cases, it allows us to quickly come up with a solution for our customers.
Very nice. Now, Andrea, having that extra company, are you guys from the sales perspective? Are you guys sharing sort of sales business development roles, or are you guys still independent of each other?
We're independent of each other, but we can promote each other at the same time. So for us, and Jim has to give himself and the engineering team a little bit more credit because he also has come a long way being a technician. He can understand some of the struggles as a technician, and he's developed what we call a level 3 repair department, and they go through and they can do board replacement repairs. They can go dive a little bit deeper into it and find out if we can fix it ourselves within the building, or then defer to that company that we have now that will also help. And I have to say too, as a salesperson, it's huge because the airline customers will call me directly if they see issues. Most of the time we're very proactive, but if they see something coming down the line and they come to me, I'll be able to go to them and say, look, we have multiple options. We don't have to just wait to get it from the OEM or hope the ILS hasn't dried up, or so it's really beneficial to the sales team because when we say something and we promote it to our airline customers and all of our customers across the base, we can back it up, and that's huge.
Yeah, that's great. So, Jim, I'm sure you have a lot of empathy for the guys on the floor when they're trying to work on stuff since you've been in their shoes. And
Sure.
I oftentimes, in fact, I just completed some training with some folks right before the podcast, and one of the things I mentioned is, I've been in this business a long time, and your knowledge won't pass me until I get out of the business. But your knowledge can grow every day if you're thirsty and you're asking good questions and you're curious about why something is the way it is. And if you constantly ask questions, one of the things that's great about this business is the whole industry really is. If you're inquisitive about things, people want to share their knowledge. You're not hiding your information from anybody, but and if there's something you can share with them that can make their lives better, I'm sure you guys are going to be able to do that for your customers. It's great to see your future with maybe a little bit of growth. Are you guys going to be expanding facilities, or adding more capabilities that are maybe through some future test equipment we can discuss?
I definitely think it's more the latter, that we would be expanding our capabilities through strategic test equipment purchases. I don't think we're going to be purchasing additional buildings or facilities. We moved back in 2021, and we're really getting settled on a nice open floor plan. As Andrew mentioned, we previously had, it was separated rooms, where now everybody, you have great informational sharing with an open floor plan, and then the office is separated from the floor. Just the same point that you mentioned too, like Andrew's been there 39 years, and everyone in the industry knows her and recognizes every show we go to. Been here 30 years. We have a lot of other technicians that have been here just as long, if not longer, and you can't put a price tag on that type of experience and the troubleshooting knowledge or the case studies that they've experienced. And it's just as you said, everyone's very happy to share that information with the next technicians that are coming up the ranks. And you could tell if someone's hungry and they're interested and caring up, there's a lot to soak in and a lot of great information being shared on a daily basis.
So, how big is the staff today?
Just under 100 people, I'd say, that's everything between production and non-production positions.
And is everybody there local?
For the most part, I think we'll have a couple positions that are working remotely, but it's overwhelmingly local here, just outside of Buffalo by the airport.
Very nice. So, being a Kansas City Chiefs fan, and I'm guessing there might be some Buffalo Bills fans on the other side of this microphone. We certainly have some great rivalries that have happened, and I'm excited for the next 5 to 10 years of continuing this rivalry. Unless you guys want to convert to be Chiefs fans.
We'll continue the rivalry.
Okay. All right.
A
Well,
lot of respect for each other, great franchise and everything.
I think so. I can tell you, I get very, very nervous every time we have to see you guys in the playoffs. I'm like, that's the team I don't want to see. I don't know. I can't lose to someone terrible at the beginning, and then we play someone terrible, but it always seems to be a tough matchup no matter what it is. So that's really good. Maybe
It is great. We meet each other every year. It's since but the guarantee a lot.
So with your future growth, maybe some additional test equipment,
Mhm.
is that going to increase your head count, or do you think or does that sort of take maybe old test benches offline that you're replacing with newer test equipment?
I think it could be a little bit of both. There will be bracing for some of the older units that are going to be less common, or they're through attrition being upgraded from. But in the same token, there will be units that we didn't support a previous base part number or version of, and there will just be a clear avenue of growth, and there will be some need for additional manpower to support those capabilities as they're added. And what's nice too, like you mentioned with the ATEX 7 or the Test Tech 8 NXP2, they have a very rich library, both of them. So now as opportunities present themselves and you can make the case for it, we can keep expanding our support with those two automated test stands, in addition to maybe purchasing an additional test stand to allow for growth.
So for all of our listeners out there, I'm gonna take a very uneducated run at what it is when we talk about these test benches that are for avionics. So the ATEX 7 will have a computer rack. So let's say that you have maybe a flight management computer and it has its own racking system that goes into this test bench, which is essentially a large computer system. You install it into this machine, and it goes through whatever diagnostics are necessary to find out what's wrong with the unit, maybe even give you some clear answers as to what's wrong. And then you guys know what, it'll probably also give you, hey, this is what you need to fix, replace these boards, or you have some things there. So if that's the amateur version, Jim, why don't you give us the professional version of how that machine actually works? I think people talk about what that is, and it's a much more complicated piece than you think.
Sure. It absolutely is. And then there's a lot of layers to it where the license test software, you have to have an agreement or permission at least from the respective OEM to be able to sell you the license test software and the hardware adapter, or the combination of two, they call a test program set. And that would connect to like the ATEX 7, for example, which is a switching matrix, number of relays and different cards and function generators and error cards and PGA cards, it with a defined functional test that the OEM has for these high-end units, and which allows you to both service it and then certify it airworthy ultimately at the end, in conjunction with the user interface desktop computer where you select the program, hit proceed, and record a result. So it is very elaborate, and there's different costs depending on, one may require certain resources. A display unit may require a goniometer, a very expensive video verification equipment. It's a lot more money than another one, in addition to having a license agreement with that OEM to be able to sell you that. So that's where we work closely with Andrea's team. You can read it under how much she cares in her hearts and everything. We work with Andrea and the sales team for those targeted opportunities that, even though it is going to be expensive to do something that elaborate and through the OEM, it'll be worthwhile that we have enough launch customers and sustainable business to support it.
That's great. Well, then Andrea, you've got a big mission on your hands if you're going to expand into that 737 fleet. And
I
certainly
know.
plenty of airplanes out there, huh? So you're not short on 737s, and Boeing's not going to stop making them anytime soon, I don't think.
Right.
So if that's the test equipment of the future, the technicians of the future, how would a young person who wants to break into become a technician at Aero Instruments, how would you guys have them go about that? Andrea, what do you think would be a great path for a young person to follow?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, Patrick, because we have 3 technicians that are starting between last week and this week, and they're coming from Pittsburgh Institute of Technology. So they go to school for electronics, and you don't have to necessarily have an aircraft background. We just take them from the school, bring them here, and our technicians, like Jim said, who has 30 years behind them, we bring them on and teach them, and we have 3 of them that have started, and I ask them every day, "How you doing?" And you can see sometimes the look in their eyes like, "Oh my god." I'm like, "You're gonna do great." I felt the same way. I didn't know the difference between a purchase order and a work order. You know how many times I got yelled at? "You're gonna be fine." So, yeah, we take pride, and we have a department that goes along with our HR department, and they go from whenever there's, at the schools, at the colleges, we have University of Buffalo right here. And so we take them from business degrees for purchasing and inside sales. That way we have electronics. Anybody that has an electronics background helps, and sometimes electrical, mechanical, sorry. We have a whole department for that too. So you don't actually have to have electronics. You could have mechanical background. So we're open to anybody. We constantly are out there advertising the company and asking for anybody that wants to come and join us. And we have a great team that will help train them.
That's fantastic. And you see this in Europe a lot where they have great apprenticeship style programs.
Mhm.
Is that similar modeling that you're doing here?
I would say yes, right, Jim? Because he's more hands-on with the technicians, but from
Mhm.
this side of it, yes, it's because if you can read a schematic, I'll watch them come in and the team will go over schematics with them and just have manuals readily available for them to look at, and they can tell, in the first little bit of talking, if they really have the grasp and the knowledge to be able to take it to the next level. And if they feel that they're trainable and they can be worked with, they will take them on and help them because it's really I remember years ago, they had 4 different schools around here, and one of them like, electronic schools specifically, and a lot of the community schools were electronics driven. I don't have that anymore because how many people fix TVs and things like that, which is some of them is similar. When we have the EDUs and the color displays here, sometimes it's easier just to replace them like you did with your TVs now. But before, you'd have someone here that would be fixing those all day long.
I always find it interesting how different companies approach bringing folks in. Employment in especially in the aviation sector is very challenging in certain areas, and sounds like you guys have created a really good formula to make sure that you're fed with good young people that are motivated to work within the systems that you have designed. That's
Yes, we don't have a lot of aviation around us. We do have Moog and we have CalSpan, but we don't have a ton of experience around here. And for us, it's almost better off to get those people from the beginning and train them.
Mhm.
And like I said, look at me. I came in doing data entry. Here I am in sales, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Now, Jim, are you lucky enough to go with Andrea on some of these business development and sales trips? Do you end up going to be a technical expert with her?
Well, I serve two purposes. There's for the technical contributions, but what's also the main purpose is I'm considerably taller than Andrea. So with everybody knowing her and trying to find her can be challenging. But if oh, there's Jim, Andrea must not be too far behind.
That's a true story,
But
Patrick.
yeah, I'm similar to when you put a tennis ball on your car antenna so you know where to park. That's kind of the purpose I serve.
Yes.
Well, with it.
You know what? What a great team member. It's great. Um, so since you guys have had the opportunity to travel together, maybe you can tell me a great aviation story about a trip that you went on that was either memorable, uh, maybe disastrous, or maybe just an epic adventure that you were able to do something that was very unique in your lives. What do you think, Jim? What pops into your mind when you think about
Like,
some trip that you guys have been on?
sure. Well, we've had a lot of laughs, which is great in the aviation industry because it can be a little. And I'm sure we're not telling you anything. We don't. It can be a little, I think, or chaotic at times. And you have to laugh and not take things to heart and stuff. So we have shared a lot of laughs and fun. But I would say we've had some success stories. I won't mention individual names in case they don't wish to be shared company wise, but for example, recent visit just within the last couple of years that Andrea and I and a team member were on, we're pitching the EGPWS that one of our top cargo operators was being kind of pushed to upgrade. And we were able to secure and lock in, and it's one of our top supported product lines to both sell them a large quantity of the Mark Fives as well as their support for their continued need for the Mark Fives without them rushing to upgrade. So it is very rewarding. Just like we're talking about the new technicians, when you figure out and you fix a unit, it is not just getting paid or anything, but there's a reporting aspect to that when you go on a trip and then it works out and you're able to close a deal or you want to refer to it as it is a nice success story that we can all share and kind of high five and puff our chest out a little bit and everything.
And then, of course, we've had a few where we've come back, Patrick, and went, oh God, I hope we made the right decision. I mean, you might be working at the coffee
It's
shop
but
down
my
the street.
expectation, Jim. Yeah, Jim, the engineer, just told us the boring success story. Now I need the salesperson to enlighten all of our listeners about how exciting it is and something that was either, let's just call it super memorable, and you can tell us whether it's a good story or a bad one.
Okay, I'll tell you a good story. It was funny. So we had been at one of the conferences, and we had actually promoted an event. Okay, so it happened to be the Evander Holyfield fight. So we had everybody in the business, and we were actually thinking this is great because we're usually the kids that don't get invited years ago, right? We didn't really get invited to the parties, and we weren't an OEM, and we weren't a big company. So as the years gone by, and Jim and I worked really hard, and so did the rest of the team, at trying to get out there and get people. So now we're thinking, hey, this is great. We're starting to get invited. So we got some friends out there. So we talked our boss into letting us do the Holyfield flight because it wasn't going to be on anywhere. And it was a great time. And it was actually in San Diego. And at the same time, the Navy, a group of Navy on a ship were just coming back in. So we invited them to our party. It was unbelievable. Like we got a chance to thank them for their service. They had had a Navy ball that night. That's what it was, because they just come back from a deployment. And we were just thinking, this is great. And at the end of the night, we were going back to the hotel to join everybody else that was going back from aviation in the business. And I had ran into a couple friends of mine. Well, the one guy had went to pick me up and say hi and, "Oh my God, it's been so great." As he picked me up, he fell backwards. So all Jim saw coming down the hallway was me going backwards, like falling down. Well, he thought, "Oh my God, at the end of this fight, Andrea's getting all, round up and wanting to fight somebody." I was like, no, Andrea doesn't want to fight anybody. I was just trying to give somebody a hug, and it went south. So that was so much fun. And everybody around us was like, "What's going on? What's going on?" Jim's like, "Hey, I'll be right back. I got to go get her." It was a lot of fun.
That was classic because out of the corner of my eye, I was talking with someone. It looked like you just took back and you lowered your shoulder and tackled. Yeah, but it was he went to pick you up and fell backwards. And so it's like, okay, you know how if you go to a car race, people are more likely to speed on the way after. I
Yes.
assume I can't ever watch a fight with. I think it was Conor McGregor. It wasn't Holyfield,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
but
McGregor, so yeah.
pay per view. I just figured Andrew enjoyed the fight a little bit too much.
Yes.
I should not watch any fights with Andrew.
It was so fun. It wasn't McGregor, sorry, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
That was classic. Yeah, that was one of the best ones.
Jim, it's good to know that you did actually think she was getting in a fight. It's great.
He's my protector.
It was a good story. It made me laugh. I'm teared up now. Right. I like to ask all of my podcast guests what their favorite aircraft is and why. So I'd love to hear what you guys have to say.
I'm all biased, but it's got to be 5767 because it's paid all our bills and allowed me to raise a family. Thing. So I got a sense of loyalty to that cargo. Has been very good to the Krey household and all of us up here in Buffalo, New York. So it's kind of hard to shake that loyalty up that.
I like the 747 for the Queen of the Skies. I like that too.
Yeah, all three amazing airplanes, and I totally understand. You get a passion for the thing you work on the most, and even for your customers, because they usually have a passion for it as well. So you have something very much in common with the folks you're trying to help out. We'll do a wrap up in a minute, but is there anything else you guys want to talk about, or something maybe that you missed in the telling of the story of the past and the future?
I'd say it was nice. We can always change. It's even though we've been around 57 years, like we just received our CAA cert for the United Kingdom recently, and there's always new challenges or accreditations. It keeps you sharp and crisp. It doesn't lie. It never gets boring or stale, which is great about aviation. And it's you can never see me being in anything other than that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Agree. When you get in, you can't get out. Here we are, 30 some years later, peace. Yeah.
So, Jim, in the modern world, there's a lot of discussions around the use of AI for different purposes. And certainly the aviation industry is slow in adapting new technologies and new thought processes sometimes, just because of the regulatory challenges that sometimes we have to cross. What is the future in your vision of the use of AI in the repair business and or to help with maybe the technical parts of evaluations?
Sure. That's a good point. There's a lot of opportunity in presentations of how it can be helpful depending on which application. And then a lot of times, it's going to be quicker and even more accurate than the human eye of someone that's been doing a task forever. If it's finding cracks in a fuselage or different specific isolated events. As far as certifying units airworthy, what we do, we're still limited to what components maintenance manual, many of which that were written 20, 30, 40 years ago. We're still limited to the functional test that's written in those manuals. or if you write, you have enough information to cipher an error equivalency of how you're doing it. But it would be a little slow before AI cracks in any type of certification testing, because it's going to still just be limited to what was in their current manuals. But as it's a good point when you mentioned servicing, repairing, troubleshooting, the challenging parts, because the units are a lot harder to repair now than they were 30, 40 years ago, where you may have an isolated data bus failure or certain address failing. It's not quite as cut and dry as a component being shorted or open. So I would more see AI being useful or helpful as a tool in a sense similar to you have like a boundary scan or something that'll check a circuit card to help repair it. It would be something more along those lines and trying to isolate where uh, the cause of failure or whether something is falling off. But again, outside of anything with certification testing, it's going to be, like you said originally, probably 10, 20 years after everything else. And then there could be, even we talked about the test software, we purchase from the licensed distributors for the OEMs on it. But that I wouldn't be surprised if instead of one person just writing code, trial and error, debugging it, it's not very feasible that AI could be used to expedite or streamline the writing test program process. So that it's going to have a very targeted, specific uses. And, we have seen some presentations, usually of companies trying to sell something that could, assist you in it. But it would be, for us, it'd be specific to either certain repairs being performed, or if a vendor we use for test programs or something, maybe to speed up that process at all. It's real limited now, but I can definitely see it being increased in the years to come.
Yeah, and I certainly think that, there's a lot of variety of applications that we can utilize it for, and whether it be predictive modeling or trying to find correlations of that maybe even some root cause of some of the damage and things that are happening on aircraft. If we could start linking these systems together with some AI, they might be able to tell us, hey, this particular unit is fatiguing out because it's reaching a ground airfield temperature above 122 degrees, and so they can come up with something preventative in that circumstance. So you never know what really that AI is going to be able to be used for. It's really going to take some creativity from technicians like yourself that's interested in solving those problems, and collaborating with the operator to go, I know you're landing on an airfield in Phoenix, but we need to increase some airflow, or we need to do something to monitor this, or, hey, it's going to be bad. Let's develop a repair scheme behind the scenes every time you get into that environment. Well, guys,
Makes perfect sense.
yeah, this has been amazing. I'm glad you guys were both on here. This has been a great conversation. I know all of our listeners learned an awful lot about Aero Instruments. And I'm excited to see where you guys grow to next. It's exciting times for you guys to have fresh funding coming in and new partners, and certainly your future is very bright. Well, for all the Nose to Tail listeners out there, thank you, Jim. Thank you, Andrea. We appreciate the dialogue today. Be sure and like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to our podcast, Nose to Tail. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Presented by Jet Midwest.